Welcome back for another video, and for this one, this is a video I wasn't necessarily planning on doing. I'm kind of working on a Mac Jones one with all the speculation of him potentially leaving the Patriots. I know there's rumors out there swirling that that the Patriots will listen to offers for Mac Jones for a trade. Also with Bailey Zappi saying there's not much of a big gap for that. But I'm gonna be working on a different video for that. For this one, I want to talk about Daniel Jones. I saw this posted on Twitter by Dav Clement. Go check it out. I also reposted on my Twitter at Sports Bruisers. I also reposted the tweet, but it says, but for him, he posted from 6 hours ago. When this video comes, as I'm recording right now, updates. His Giants quarterback Daniel Jones wants more than New York has offered him, possibly as much as $45 million per year or more. A source tells Mike Florio. So if we're gonna take this, let's say this is true. The speculation is true. This is insane. The last time I saw the money wise for what they're projecting Daniel Jones to get was between 35 and 37, which I think is fair for a franchise guy. You're really getting it on a cheap deal, seeing how the NFL is going with contracts for quarterbacks per season. And I think that's a very reasonable price. You have Derek Carr, you have Geno Smith, also big discussions too for contracts. And I think they're going to get around that price, the high 30s, no doubt. And I think that's kind of fair for Daniel Jones. Granted, he only shown one good season, if you want to count his rookie season as well. But his first good season overall, leading up for the first time to the playoffs, going to the playoffs for the first time, and also winning a game against Minnesota. Take it how it is. I know people kind of, the whole year call them frauds. But they were still a playoff team. They were still a top 3 seed. You have to give them credit for winning that, regardless. So again, first good season of playing well and also team success. So I understand why you need to it's a priority to give him a contract. Obviously, him and Saquon are the two top priorities. Haven't heard too much of Saquon, just more so with Daniel Jones. I'm sure if I look more into that, I will find more on Saquon. But I'm just more interested in Daniel Jones, especially with this tweet coming out now, or a few hours ago, I should say. But just focus on the money. I think it's just ridiculous. $45 million for Daniel Jones. He's not worth the money. If that's the case, if he is demanding that, I would move on from him, or at the very least give him the franchise tag. Would he sign the franchise tag? I don't know. You never know with these players. It all depends. You don't know how they're going to react. Some are willing to sign it. Some obviously take offense to it. So you never know what the reaction is going to be. So for the franchise tag, it's just projected for the 2023 cap space for the quarterback position. They're projected to make, if they do go that route with the franchise tag on Daniel Jones and he does accept it, is projected to be $32.4 million. Currently, right now, it is 29.7, but again, projecting what it's going to be will be 32.4. So if that's the case for 32.4 for 1 year, I think it's a very reasonable offer, very solid. Give him one more year to prove himself again. If he can show you that he can put it, multiple seasons together back to back, and kind of repeat what he did this year. Of course, statistically doing way better. Then we can be in the conversation of a $45 million deal or per year deal or more. But for right now, I'm sorry. Looking at his stats and overall, I don't think he's worth it. Again, I get the whole, if you're looking at his point of view, there wasn't really any talent around him, especially at the receiver position. No number one receiver. Shepard got hurt. He's probably gonna be let go. Nice pickups towards the end, like Isaiah Hodgins from the practice squad. He really showed that he is a solid receiver, but of course not a number one receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson they drafted in the second round this past year. Galloway is just a big swing and a miss with this contract. Definitely has not produced whatsoever. So big swing and a miss on that one. The only top guy really is just Saquon, and he was the one that really carried this team, no doubt. He was the best offensive player on this team. So I understand from that point of view, he doesn't have a lot of talent to work with. But at the same time, too, if you are a guy, a quarterback, I should say, that's asking for that type of money, you need to put up big time stats. And also, when you're going to get that big time money, there's big expectations. So for this year, Daniel Jones, for his stats, He had 3,205 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he averaged just right at 200 passing yards. And if you're excluding the postseason, he only had 6 games over 200 yards passing. And if I'm looking correctly, he only had 2 games of over 300. Again, if you are getting that big time money, you have to put up those stats. You have to be the one that's the driving force of this team, not just a person, not just a piece, the driving force of this team. And for $45 million, it is not worth it. Based on those stats, it is not worth it. I'm sorry, he is not what he did. I get it. He had a good season. He really turned it around, especially cutting severely on the turnovers and keeping the ball safe. And it really shows the greatness of Brian Daboll, that it wasn't just a fluke with Josh Allen. Look what he did with Allen. He really turned around in his game. He goes to the Giants with Daniel Jones. That's very turnover prone with interceptions and big on two with the fumbles, and he cleaned it up severely. And he looked like a good quarterback. He looked like he is now somewhat worth of the first round pick. I'm sure even now after this season, people kind of question if he is still a first round pick, but with this season, it kind of makes it a little bit more plausible with that. But even still, again, looking at the stats and stuff, I'm sorry, and what he did this season, it's not worth $45 million. It isn't. You can go out there and you can get a better quarterback. I know. For my Lamar Jackson video, I don't think I did put him on as a list, but the Giants could be a possibility if they want to go get an elite quarterback. Why I constantly keep saying for the NFC, there's very little, on the quarterback, elite quarterbacks there. There's very little of them, and if you can take advantage of that and get Lamar Jackson, it's going to be great, especially with his running ability. And I know Lamar is trying to get away from that situation with Baltimore, with them always relying heavily on his legs. But I think with Brian Daboll, I think he's a much more creative mind offensively, and I think he will design, obviously design plays for him to run a course, but not, run him to the ground like Baltimore did, where he has to be the guy carrying the team. Will be in a much better situation with a creative offensive coordinator as his head coach. And I really do believe that that'd be a great spot for him if it comes down to that. Now, again, there's the franchise tag for Daniel Jones. If they're willing to do it and he accepts the deal, I think it's the best case scenario for them. It gives both sides. Daniel Jones has to prove once again for another year that it wasn't a fluke this season, that he can play better, put up better stats, and also have the same success, if not better, than this past season. And for the Giants, it gives them another year to, again, look at that again, see if it was a fluke. If he plays bad, then you get rid of him. If he plays good, then of course, Daniel Jones kind of bets on himself. He wins that, and it kind of puts the Giants in a tougher situation. Who knows with going to our next offseason, what the cap's going to look like for the quarterbacks and such, what they're going to be asking for. So if he might ask for a lot more money than what he's asking for right now. But I'm going to take the Giants on this side. If I'm the Giants, if I'm the front office, head coach, or whoever, I'm going to give I'm going to give Daniel Jones the franchise tag. I don't know if he's going to like it or not. I don't know how he's going to react, like I said. But for me, I'd rather take that approach because statistically, the last 4 years, he hasn't played well. And I know coaching and stuff like that and pieces around him haven't been great, if you want to say, but especially for passing statistically, especially for his touchdown passes, it's insane for a supposed franchise quarterback or a first round talent. So his first year was pretty good. He had just over 3,000 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Pretty solid. What you expect for a great first year. Nice stepping stone to hopefully become better. Then after that, it goes downhill. In 2020, he has under 3,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. For a franchise quarterback for his second year, that's what he does. There's backup quarterbacks that can do better than that. Jacoby Brissett came in for the Browns for 10 games. I believe it was 10 games this season. Oh no, my bad. 11 games this season. He has better stats than this. I'm sorry, if you throw in a backup quarterback for the whole season, it is expected to have, at the very worst, to have stats like this, but is expected from a backup quarterback, not from a from a supposed franchise guy who you took high in the first round. 11 yards passing, especially with this day and age, with how offensive minded the NFL is going, to have 11 yards passing as a franchise quarterback, that's insane. And it gets even worse the next year. This is 2021. He has just under 2,500 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. This is worse than backup quarterbacks. I'm sorry. This is worse. This is honestly, for stat wise, this is pathetic for a franchise guy. And I get it. The head coach, the pieces around him. I understand that. I get all that. And you are right to a point. If you are someone that thinks that, and I would agree with you to a point with that. But this is insane. 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for a season. Come on. And then for this year, kind of revival, but again, statistically not that impressive. Just over 3,000 yards passing. This is his 3,200 yards passing. This is his career high in passing yards. Just over 3,000 yards passing. 15 touchdowns, which is the most he had since his rookie year, and he had way more in his rookie year than he did it this year. He had 9 more passing touchdowns than his this year. Interceptions, I will give him that. He really has cleaned it up. And if you look at from his rookie year to now, he's really cut it down each year, going from 12 to 10 to 7 to now 5. So give him credit for that. He really has cleaned up that part. I know the big thing too is fumbles for the most part, but just throwing the football, he has done well. And if you look at for the running game, he had just over 700 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. So you combine that, well over 20 touchdowns, well over 25, I should say. Or sorry, I bet 23 in total. So I guess when you're combining that, not bad. But again, that's not valid for $45 million. It's not. And especially if he's asking for more than that, more than $45 million. So my question would be, what is more than $45 million? Is he pushing the $50 million range? Is that where he's headed towards? So I think for that, I think he's really starting to, if it's his agent or himself, I think he's starting to really get a little greedy with that part. I think he's kind of way out of line with that. And these are the cap numbers per year for the quarterbacks coming up for this year. So as of right now, there's only 3 quarterbacks this year that's making over $40 million a year. Dak Prescott making $49 million. Patrick Mahomes making $49 million. And the number one is Deshaun Watson with $54 million. Now that'll be kind of I think I might do a video like that in the future, talking about the Deshaun Watson situation with the cap. That's a whole other discussion with that. That's a lot for, kind of banking on hopefully that he can be back to the 2020 version at the very least that he has shown, and even years before that. But it's a different discussion. But just looking off of that, I think overall off the bat, you can look at 2 of the 3 are quarterbacks that aren't worthy of getting that. I mean, people obviously with the early exit with the Cowboys, a lot of Cowboys fans, I'm sure, are not happy with Dak Prescott. I've seen a lot of them say they want him gone. So if you ask them if he's worth $49 million, in my opinion too, he's not. Deshaun Watson, as of right now, I don't think he's worth that money. I think the Browns made a terrible mistake given the contract, but they were desperate. They needed a quarterback. They threw a bunch of money at him. You can't blame Deshaun Watson for taking the money if it's out there. Any of us would if you're in that position. The only one that was worthy of it is Patrick Mahomes. He just won the Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl MVP. He won regular season MVP. So he's shown that in his first 5 years, he's gone to 3 Super Bowls and won 2. So clearly, even if he was making $54 million this year, it doesn't matter. He is worth the money. People are just a few quarterbacks just under that, the $40 million range. Josh Allen making $39 million. Ryan Tannehill making $36, which is insane. He's not worth that money. I think a little bit less than that. Kirk Cousins $36. Matt Ryan $35. I think he is done with the Colts. Tom Brady, who still they still have to take the cap hit for that, even though he retired. It's still on their books. He's making $35 million on the books. Aaron Rodgers is making $31 million. Jared Goff making 30. So I don't want to go down the list. I kind of just want to name a few below that. But if we are saying that he wants 45, at the very least, that makes him the fourth highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And I get what contract. It's not just because a guy gets a big contract, no matter position, doesn't necessarily mean they are the best at the position. It just they are available. There's always going to be players that are going to try and push to reset the market, and obviously Daniel Jones is necessarily not going to, reset the market with him. He hasn't shown that. If he is, I doubt even with his contract, even with $45 million, he's not resetting the market, because Deshaun Watson is making 54, and in a few years soon, you're going to see a few other quarterbacks start making into the 50s. I know Josh Allen in a couple of years, I believe, will be making 51. Later down the line, not 2 years, but way down the line in a few years, Mahomes will be making over 50 million, and with the way the NFL is going, Deshaun Watson will be making over 50 million for the remainder of his contract, really. So again, I don't think Daniel Jones is worth that money. I think it's the franchise tag is the best option for them. I do believe that puts them in between Rodgers and Brady. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So with $32 million, I think that's a reasonable price to basically for the team telling Daniel Jones, we want to see another year. We want you to see this again. We want you to put together for a second straight year. So then it is more reasonable to give you that money. It is to the fans. It'll be more of a justified to give them the big money. But for right now, I'm sorry, I don't see that. I think this is insane. If it is true for the update that he is asking for even more on that, and I think he's really setting himself for failure. Honestly, I think this could really backfire on him, and I won't be surprised. I mean, we even questioned before the season, before he even had this good season, it looked like a for sure thing that they were going to get rid of Daniel Jones after this year. It looked like, Brian Daboll stuck with them. We'll see what he does with for the year, and after that, we're moving on. After the season, with him playing well, or I shouldn't say well, playing good, leading the team to the playoffs, and also winning a playoff game. Now people are saying, okay, now it looks like he might be the guy. He's the guy, but I think he is the guy for 37 million, not 10 million, almost 10 million more, or potentially if he is pushing. I don't know what the cap is, what the ceiling is for how much money he wants. I don't know if it is 47 or 50 million. I don't know. It's kind of me just speculation, but for right now, the one number I know for sure is at the very least 45 million, and I think that is insane. He's not worth the money. I won't even be surprised too. Another option is also what I just said for Lamar Jackson. I won't be surprised too if they just moved on from him. I think the likely one, like I keep saying, is the franchise tag. I think that's the best option for both sides. But there could also be a possibility that they let him go. You can for that money, like what I named, Geno Smith. Now there's also worries about him. Can he do it again for another year? But another solid one's Derek Carr. Regardless of the controversies with him, if you really think he's a good quarterback or not, he is worth that money. Not 45 million, but what I saw previously with 37. If you can sign Derek Carr for 37 million, I'm gonna move on from Daniel Jones. I'm gonna release him. I'm gonna pick up Derek Carr, and I'll feel as a fan and as a team in a much better position. So that's my thoughts on it. I just want to make a quick video. I know it's getting close to 20 minutes, but I just want to make a quick video on the discussion about Daniel Jones. I thought it was just insane seeing that report, if it is true, once again, that he would be even asking for that. I think that's insane that he has the audacity to ask for that money for putting up a good season at best. So that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think on the whole Daniel Jones situation. If you think he is going to get the money. If not, what do you think what his price range should be, or what he should earn for his new contract. Please subscribe if you enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.